Well, that made me too nervous to do anything. I was going to sit up here and shake. No, I want to tell you, it's been a real pleasure being here the last couple of days, and yeah, I was speaking notes with two other people, but the people gathered here this weekend who entertained and who performed, you were all fantastic. You all did a great job, and you all deserve to give yourselves a big hand and a pat on the back. And anybody who missed this program this weekend, come next year, because you're not going to find anybody better anywhere than what happened in this room this weekend. The Sore Backside Dude Ranch had some folks out for an evening ride. They stopped and built a fire for coffee, and the marshmallow things was fried. Yeah, them folks was having a real good time, and the wrangler was telling them a spooky tale, guaranteed to drain their blood, to scare them till their faces would turn pale. Now, what's the guy's name? Kelly. Kelly Ryan, right for the Circle B outfit, was chasing cows one day. Okay, you guys, calm me down now. I'm practicing this. Now, Kelly Ryan rode for the Circle B Dude Room. I'm going to start over again. See, I knew I was going to do this. The Sore Backside Dude Ranch had some folks out for an evening ride. They stopped and built a fire for coffee, and the marshmallow things was fried. Yeah, them folks was having a real good time, and the wrangler was telling them a spooky tale, guaranteed to drain their blood and scare them till their faces had turned pale. Now, Kelly Ryan rode for the Circle B Ranch, and he'd been chasing cows all day, and when he spotted his neighbor's fire, he reined his dun and over a bit that way. He sure was hankering for a cup of coffee, and he could smell it clear to hear. And no cowboys ever turned away from a camp. It's a code we hold too dear. He rode on up, name's Kelly, and your fire and coffee sure a welcome sight. Would you folks mind if I had a cup and rested my aching bones of mine? Well, the wrangler told him to step on down and fill the cup clean to the top. Kelly nodded his thanks. Go on, finish your story. I don't want to make it stop. So that kid went and finished her up, and the folks figured it was the greatest they'd ever heard. The nighthawk screamed and they all was scared. But the kid said it was just a bird. And Kelly drank down the last and shook his head. You do know we ain't alone. Then he pulled out the makings to roll a smoke, and he let his silence chill him to the bone. Well, he glued it down and lit her up. Yeah, they're all over this country, but only after dark. And if you listen real close, you can hear them screaming. Sometimes they even bark. Got the wail of a lost soul, and they're fighting to echo off the hills and ring. That's when you'd better know some church meeting songs, and you'd best know how to sing. Then he went and poured another cup, and he smoked it all curly on down a bit, while his folks' eyes were big as snuff cans, and they moved in close to the fire instead. Finally, they asked who this creature was. With Kelly's silence, he could no longer cope. He looked him dead in the eye. It's a critter straight from Hades. We call it jackalope. Now, most folks don't believe he even exists, but I know for a fact he does. Because I rode one night just to prove my point, or maybe it was just because. This critter's a fiend to the devil. Crossed with a jackrabbit and a monster muley deer. He's got huge antlers and eyes hot and red. And he's the size of a Hereford steer. Yeah, come on, him out on the prairie that night when the summer moon was shining full. Oh, I snapped a good loop on him before I got my dallies. Give me an awful pull. He yanked me right out of the saddle. Oh, never should have done such a foolish trick. Because that beast with his red eyes dragged me over the rocks and through the creek. Maybe I should have just let go and saved myself. Oh, I knew I was being a dope. But I'm a stubborn one. I was about turned loose of a brand new $10 rope. They dove right down this big hole in the ground and kept dragging me behind. And we just kept going deeper. And it was so pitch black, I swore I was going blind. Then Up ahead, I saw a glow. And the smell of fire and brimstone filled my nose. That's when I decided this is just about as far as this here cowpoke goes. But still, I couldn't seem to part with that new rope. So I hung on a little more, but I let go double quick, or the old devil laughed as fire saw a roar. Then Kelly shook his head and stood up. Well, I'd best be heading out. But them folks jumped up, banging the story's end, and even blocked his exit route. Well, what happened next? How'd you find a way back to the top of the earth? Please don't leave us hanging like this. Why will he pay you for what it's worth? Kelly rubbed his jaw. Well, I don't recall too much of how I ended up on open land, but them nasty folk would spread rumors of how I was found with a whiskey bottle in my hand. Then Kelly grinned slyly as he mounted up and tossed the Lazarus Quirly in the fire. But don't you put no stock in it, because I've never yet met a leprechaun that wasn't a doggone liar. Old Booger Red was a tough one, running wild through Nevada's desert hills. And many a man who encountered him was left with the case of the chills. He wore no brand wore him, and that just suited him right. His covered in dust, and he'd chase them mares all the day and night. And one day he come to the Running Sea Ranch, following a broomtail herd. The boys all stood there watching him, and none could say a word. They never before had seen his like. He was big, rough, and bold. And as he trotted around that pen, he was a fearsome sight to behold. He come to live in that breaking pen, and the boys got to know him well. A rank, ornery, mean son. What wild as he could rightly tell. It was clear he was an outlaw. Word had it that he killed men in the past. That his name was Booger Red, and of his breed he surely was the last. Well, I'm suffering tonight. His reputation grew as a tough one. None could go the distance with it. And his fame in that breaking pen was all truth, and not a bit of it was myth. It wasn't him to ever give up, and a few of the rides he didn't win, because losing one drove him crazy and made him 10 times meaner in sin. Soon the stories of Booger Red spread like wildfire across the West, and no man alive was fool enough to come and put old Booger to the test. Why, they wouldn't even come to take a peek for fear they'd be prodded into that pen, or they'd lose their nerve and they'd be branded cowards by the other men. Then one day the stories reached a rodeo man who was looking for Bronx the Buck, a down-and-out stock contractor from Texas in need of a bit of luck. Figured if he got that outlaw in his string, folks had come from miles around just to see that Booger Red throw them bronc riders to the ground. So he drove on up to the Running Sea and hoped that horse might be for sale. He'd give whatever they asked on this he simply couldn't afford to fail. He introduced himself to Ike the foreman, said he'd come from Booger Red. They don't want to buy him, take him home, and he promised to keep him fed. Ike shrugged, sure. He was in the pen with Bud. They were having a bit of a feud, and Red's really blowing smoke. Yeah, old Bud's got him plenty stewed. When he got to the pen, they found cowboy and horse facing one another, legs spraddled and teeth bared, growling like an angry grizzly mother. Man and horse stood a mere inch apart, eyeballs locked in a blinkless stare, and the rodeo man saw there was no trace of fear between that stubborn pair. He whispered, that Bud should have got a lot of nerve facing out a killer horse like that. Of all I've heard about Booger Red, all she left of that feller is his hat. Ike turned to the rodeo man. I don't believe you've got the proper picture here. Whatever someone told you is wrong. That's how it would appear. Then he pointed at the cowboy, still locked eye to eye with an ornery stud. You see, mister? He's Booger Red. The horse's name is Bud. Now, I want to dedicate this one to everybody who's ever made their living off the back of a horse, which is probably most everybody in this room. Latigos pulled tight, with fingers going numb. Slide them on the pad to warm them up some. The feel of a horse and the touch of good leather, and to know that your heart is light as a feather. The smell of strong coffee and drift on the breeze, hot biscuits and beefsteak as much as you please. To stand in the chill and see the morning's first glow, and feel the very lifeblood in you starting to flow. They say these are times to try a man's soul. The pace of this world exacts an almighty toll. But too many men have never stood with a tin cup in their hand, or watched the silent sunrise bring birth to the land. They've never saddled up with men of their kind, or dug down inside themselves to see what they'd find. Their souls would be healed, the good drawn from the bad, if ever, just once, if ever they had. So look to the west where the mountains don't change, to the sage and rimrock where men ride the range. The grandfathers knew it, and the fathers did too. The look of the morning and grass soaked by the dew. Now their sons take their place or ride by their side. Like brothers, they hold on to the old ways of pride. For these, the days that have passed will never be gone. It's a brotherhood of men who ride out with the dawn. Now, I'd like to leave you with this old, heartfelt cowboy sentiment. May your saddle never slip and your cinch never bust. And for them gates that just won't open, WD-40 is mighty good at moving rust. Thank you.